What's up, Mr. Mike?
How are you, sir?
How you doing?
Yeah,
good. I love your hat.
Thank you.
That thing is sweat.
It is. I should have sweat written down right down the side. Yeah, we just got these in yesterday. So
yeah, if Nick was here, he would go on a rant about sweaty hats or something. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, you should look at our LinkedIn feed and find it in there. It was,
just find the blooper reel. There's a good blooper reel.
Manufacturers, what is your biggest headache? Is it measuring improving profitability, gaining efficiencies with AI and automation, maybe tightening up your cybersecurity, maybe getting your business ready to sell? At CLA, their goal is to know you and help you with challenges like these and more. Every day, CLA helps manufacturers tap into millions in revenue and cost savings, like one manufacturer that boosted capacity and revenues by 15 to 20%. Visit CLAconnect.com to hear real success stories and learn how you can grow your top and bottom line.
So we have Chad Schmidt today with Campro USA, and what's cool about Chad is he goes in and films shop tour videos at machine shops, and the way he does it, the format, the style, the vibe is just super cool. His channel is kind of exploding, and when I saw this, and he actually recently filmed at one of our customers, and actually I got sent links even before I saw it live, but that's when it really got on my radar, and just love the way he's profiling his businesses. Love the way that he really kind of, just sort of like a raw, kind of unpolished in some ways, but really authentic way to kind of talk to these shop owners about what they're doing and how their shops run and why they're doing it. And so, Chad, welcome to the show. And looking forward to talking.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for the kind words there. I'm glad you guys are enjoying them. Glad you found the channel.
Mm-hmm. So let's first learn a little bit more about yourself, how you got into the industry, what you do as your day job. Obviously, filmmaking is not your career, maybe yet. But yeah, let's talk about you for a second.
Yeah, so I went to college for mechanical engineering. And I didn't really want to sit behind a desk and do the whole go to the same place every day kind of deal for a career. So, I got a job as a sales engineer, field sales engineer, but basically as a tool rep for a cutting tool company with Allied Machine and Engineering, which I'm assuming you guys are familiar with them, out of near Akron, Ohio. Great company. But yeah, so they hired me out of college, and then I was a tool rep with them. I was with them for like 2.5 years. And then I got into working with Kennametal. I worked for them for 1.5 years. And then along the way, I tried to sell Kennametal tools to Campro, and they ended up hiring me. So that's just kind of my progression as far as my jobs go. But, I grew up a very hands-on environment, liked understanding how things worked, liked to build things myself, which is how it got me into the engineering route. My dad was an engineer. And then, I just like seeing new things all the time. So the sales world and in the machining realm was just kind of the perfect fit, going to see new shops all the time, all these new products that are getting made, and then being on the technical side too. It's fun. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Awesome. So obviously you visit and have visited lots of shops because all your positions probably included just traveling to see shops.
Yeah.
What was the genesis of starting to do YouTube videos about them?
Yeah. So we'll have to back up a little bit. So I graduated college in 2020 and, got my job right out of college, in the midst of the pandemic, right? So I started with Allied in June of 2020 and was at their training program. And normally they would send out the trainees to work with the guys in the field, just to see shops, to interact with people in person and see all the things that they can't teach you in a book, right? But that wasn't possible in 2020 for obvious reasons. So I'm just at home in my apartment trying to find ways to learn the industry, and I stumbled upon NYC CNC, John Saunders.
John Saunders, yeah.
And he has like this massive library of shop tours. So I spent a ton of time watching his shop tour videos, just trying to learn about the industry, and it's actually really helpful for me. So that's kind of what planted the seed in my head for shop tour videos. and then I get out in the field. I'm spending time at all these shops, and I just really enjoy the conversations with these shop owners and seeing what they're doing. It's very interesting to me. So then I got to Campro, and Campro's not DN, it's not Haas. We don't have the name recognition. We're not in Titans of CNC shop, right? So just thinking of ways to get the word out, and it's just a perfect combination of the conversations that I'm already having and enjoying, and then I figured I'd try to stick a camera on it and get some eyeballs, promote the industry, share these stories, promote shops, and then also promote the machines that I'm trying to sell. So kind of a perfect storm of things that kind of led me to do it.
That's fascinating start to get where you're at. That's raises a lot of questions. I'm just curious, like since it's not, we said you're not a full-time filmmaker, you have a day job,
right?
Just how are you balancing that? Even just like finding shops, finding time to go to the shops. I mean, locally, regionally, etc.
Right. Yeah. So it actually works really well because as an outside sales guy, one of the main parts of my job is to just spend time with these shops, build relationships, build trust. So if I spend 2 hours with a guy talking about every aspect of his business and the challenge that he went through to build the business, that fits perfectly with my goal to build relationships with people, right?
Sure.
So I just do it during my normal work days, and my managers are awesome. They support me in doing it. They're happy for me to be out there doing it. So I stick locally for the most part, within a few hours of where I live and where I'm already traveling. I did go out to Wisconsin to hit a couple of Campro users to show their stories. But mostly I'm local, so it fits into my schedule pretty easy.
That's cool.
So maybe we'll give you the opportunity to do a shameless plug for Campro, but what do you sell? I'm not familiar with the lines.
Yeah, so pretty wide range of machine tools, but vertical machining centers and turning centers are our bread and butter. We have box and linear way machines. Campro believes in putting a lot of metal in the machines, so heavy, beefy machines, rigid stuff. We put FANUC controls on everything, so it's easy for shops to integrate with that because 80% of shops have a FANUC in there or something like that. And on the turning centers, 2 and 3 axis, single and twin spindle, live turret machines, and then we do have some 5 axis stuff as well. We have one of our most popular machines is a VMC. It's like a 20 by 40 size with almost 31 inches of Z travel on it, which is a ton.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's a great machine for job shops. You put a pretty good sized trunnion in there. We could put a 400 millimeter trunnion in these machines, and then use it like 4+1, or as a 4+1. So yeah, we focus on job shops. People that need versatility, do a little bit of horizontals, but really the bread and butter machines that most job shops would use. So
super cool.
Yeah,
awesome. So imagine when you go out to these shops first, getting introduction or starting getting to know them. And some of them you're like, hey, can I film a video here? And you probably get mixed reactions like, yeah, heck yeah, come on. Or like, wait a minute. I don't know. What are you going to film? Like, what are people going to see? And you share a little bit about.
Yeah, we didn't clean up.
Right. No, and especially when I first started, I'm not that far into this, but when I first start and I come to a guy and I say, hey, can I film a video? And they're like, what? Like, what is in this for me? Why would I do that? But, I've built good relationships with some of the shops in the area and just really nice guys that want to promote the industry and help me out, right? So I started with the people that I know best and I thought would be willing to give me a shot at it. But yeah, some people are super hesitant, and just with the industry being, there's a lot of proprietary parts. So that's another thing, right?
Sure.
Like, we do parts for Boeing or Lockheed or something. There's no chance you can ever come in here. So some of them, it's like, a hard no. And I know that ahead of time, so I won't even ask. Others are just more hesitant. So I always make sure to tell people that I'm going to film this video. I'll edit it all up. I'll blur anything out you want me to. I'll send it to you before I make it public. Just try to triple ensure that they're comfortable with things. So that does help. But I would say maybe 60% of the people that I would propose this to have any sort of interest in it, which it actually surprised me. I thought more people would be like, yeah, I want to get my name out there, would love to do something like that. But the other thing is, you bring a camera out and people just get nervous, and I do too.
Oh,
right?
for sure, yeah.
I turn the camera on and it's like I just got lockjaw, and it's like I have no idea what to say, and I always try to just make people feel comfortable though, because I'm like, I'm going to say something stupid. You're probably going to say something stupid. I'm just going to cut it out. So don't worry about it, right? So, it's that dance, trying to inform them how it's going to go. But still, I'd say only about 60% maybe have any interest, and then how many people actually have me in is another number. So.
Yeah, I've had those same exact conversations because we also do some shop tours, and sometimes you just got to say just what you said. We'll give you full editing ability, to fuzz things out, and we guarantee we will not show any ITAR parts or defense parts or things you don't want seen, and we're just going to more focus on your story and your process, and I think it's if they can get past the objections, I think it's great visibility. Like,
sure.
You published one 4 days ago about these three sisters, and it has 62,000 views in the first 4 days.
That's insane.
Yeah, that one kind of blew up, but that's what I agree. I mean, it seems like free marketing. So,
I know. I mean, as a shop owner, I don't know. A couple times a year now, it seems like somebody wants to do something. Paul's been to the shop, different, whether it's vendors or even like our local, like the local chamber wanted to do a deal. And I remember, if I go back 6 or 7 years, the first time someone asked, it is very nerve-wracking, incredibly nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more comfortable with it now. Of course, on camera a couple of times a week with podcasts and everything else. But it's funny because I just had a vendor here 2 months ago and got the lockjaw on so he was like, hey, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and shoot like a little promo for you if you want. So we had this like whole like little 2-minute script we were going to do about who is Hill, and we just ditched it because after 30 minutes of bad takes, it was like, you know what? It's all right. I don't need one. It's hard. It's hard to do.
I understand. Like, you'll see me film the video, just a normal conversation, but then I'll put in like those little snippets where I'm like, hey, we're here. We're doing this shop tour video.
Yeah.
If I told you how many takes I had to do with those like little things like that, it would make sense. But yeah, totally understand that.
Yeah. When I do my Machine Shop Mastery or Manufacturing Transform podcasts, I always do a little intro piece that's maybe a minute and a half long. And sometimes, when we use Riverside for recording that, and you can hit record, and then it automatically titles it as take 1. And then if you mess it up, you can delete it and start over, and it switches to take 2, take 3. I've been on like take 8 sometimes before I actually got it right. So
that's easy. Yeah.
Everyone might think that I get it right the first time, but that is far from the truth.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So you've done about 14 or 15 videos now, right? And everything from brand new startups, like obviously these sisters, the one you did with our customers in Philly, American Precision Works, and, really well-established shops that have been around a long time. One that had 130 people I saw. You do a good job with your thumbnails.
Thank you.
They are very eye-catching. But let's just share some of your observations about the shops you're visiting, the trends you're seeing, the mindsets of these new shops that are starting up, just anything that's really jumped out at you.
Yeah. So like you said, I've done quite a variety of these shops. There's the small shops, which is most of them. And then there's the big shops that have been around for a long time. But, I do like to talk to these guys about, kind of their mindset behind the business and how they go about things. And I would say like just a common denominator I see with the shops, whether I filmed them or not, of like the successful shops are like the leaders that are humble guys, and those are the conversations that come across the best. Like, you'll see in some of the conversations where guys will often point to, other people in the shop that have done a great job, or they want to promote the young guys or just not take credit for things. So, I mean, that's one thing I just noticed that stands out amongst the leaders that are maybe at another level is the humility of some of these guys. Maybe that's not a business trend, but maybe a leadership trend I see. Not that I'm reinventing the wheel. That's pretty one-on-one stuff, but I think it stands out when you see it.
It says something about culture, and it seems like every show we talk about, we end up talking about culture. And I mean,
yeah, we do.
Certainly, a leadership that is proud of their people and promotes their people is going to be a good company. I mean, so you're seeing that culture and that team culture.
Yeah,
in those leaders.
Yeah, for sure. As far as like business trends and stuff, like, I'm seeing a lot of variety out there. Like certain shops are just crushing it right now, and other shops are like not killing it right now. They'll cite the tariff thing or the economy thing. And I've been surprised at the variety of people's opinions on like the tariff situation, right? Like bring back manufacturing, tariff the heck out of everybody. Some shops are like all for it, and other shops are like, I don't know. So, I mean, you would think that there would be more consensus in that world, but I don't even see consensus in that, And then, there's a couple different types of shops. There's these shops that are like competing on like a global scale, like APW. They're taking these small aluminum parts where the cost of shipping has very little to do with your overall price, right? So you're going to end up competing against guys in China or all over the world. And then there's the shops who have big bridge mills and they're doing work for the big manufacturing plant down the road, and having it quick and a really big machine sets them apart. So I mean, in a sense, like, yeah, they're both machining, but those are two completely different businesses, in the way that they have to compete. So there's, when you just talk machine shop, that encompasses like so many different really strategies of business, and you guys would be much more informed on that stuff.
Do you know, you mentioned, some shops, can't keep up and some aren't that busy. Have you noticed in like the tours you're doing, whether they're on camera or not, what a common theme to either one of those things? Whether it's industry or types of work or anything like that.
Well, defense is killing it. They're doing pretty good, which is not good for the world, but whatever. But I would say diversification. If these shops have had the same 5 customers for the last 30 years and they haven't put any effort into, going out and diversifying into different industries, they're really susceptible to the ups and downs. So I've definitely seen that where it's like, yeah, our one customer that was 60% of our sales took a hit this quarter, and there they go too. So that's definitely the big thing. If somebody's diversified across industries, has a lot of different customers, has a sales process or a sales team that can generate new stuff, they can ride the waves pretty good. But there's a lot of little shops out there who are doing work for a few customers, and they got a lot of eggs in a very few number of baskets. I see. Not that I'm one to advise them on how to run their business, right? But that's something I observe.
Yeah. We talk about all of these things you're talking about.
I know, it's so funny.
On different episodes of this podcast and my podcast and Mike's podcast and Nick's. So I love the fact that you're bringing them out unprompted.
Right.
Like, these are the key things that help drive a shop forward, right? Yeah. So, and what do you think, going a little deeper, maybe going through the 5 why process, why some shops are sort of, diversifying or pushing sales and marketing and really working at it, and some are not? Is it a mindset thing in the owners? Do you see any parallels in the thing you talk about with humility? Like, are the humble ones more open to hearing feedback about how to grow their businesses from other people, or anything related to this at all?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the humble guys are, they don't think that they have it all figured out. So they're relying on they're asking a lot of people questions about what's best to do, and they end up getting good advice because you ask a lot of people, you're going to come to the right answers. I think there's a proverb about that. There's safety in a number of advisors or something, right? So these humble guys that are willing to ask for advice, I would say, tend to end up diversifying their business, right? Because they've asked a lot of people advice. I'm sure that's not a rule. Like you're going to find the nicest guy ever that's just just kind of chilling and taking orders as they come. But, these guys, it usually goes hand in hand, I would say. And like ambition is another one, right? Like Matt at APW, who like, I mean, that guy could take over the world of machining. They have such a vision for manufacturing and long-term success that just help them put a foundation in that is just going to be awesome for a long time to come. Whereas like if somebody stumbled into having a shop, maybe they worked there and the owner retired and they're like, hey, you want to run the shop? They didn't come into the business with as much conviction or fervor as the guys at APW did, right? So ambition is certainly a big factor there.
I love that.
Yeah,
conviction and fervor. Those are great words to use.
Those are really good. And Paul, we've talked many times in the past about that. That just lifestyle business. Once you build it up to where it's funding, you're a happy owner, right?
Yeah.
Do I want to work harder? I don't know. Like my life is good, and I think that's a lot of what you're saying there.
Yeah, and I if somebody wants to choose to live their life differently, where they're not going to take over the world of manufacturing,
they're not wrong,
fine, right?
Yeah,
right? Like there's nothing wrong with that.
No, they're not wrong at all.
I'm sure you guys would have insight on, I guess, the cost of building a business in terms of the other things in your life, right? Like how do you balance a family life? Do you have kids at home, right? Like I'm thinking about this now because I have my first one on the way. My wife is pregnant.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. But those are the things you got to think about and balance. Do you spend all your time at the business? I don't know. You guys could speak to that, but
I've been through that roller coaster for sure. I mean, there's been different seasons in my career that the answer is yes, and then other times the answer was no. But
right,
just got to be your version of balance, whatever that looks like.
Yep.
Well, one thing that we've talked about at times is, Mike and I did an episode on sort of the $2 million threshold. Like you can get your shop to about that size without a lot of systems, without a lot of processes, and just kind of have a lifestyle business. But if you don't keep pushing it, over time, that 2 million is going to be 1.8, 1.6, 1.4. And after a while, you're not actually happy anymore because you're not doing as well as you once were, and your business isn't as valuable, and it may not be giving you the income you want. And so even without, that fervor to take over and build a massive enterprise, I think there still is a best practice of just continuing to push a little bit just to at least stay to that level that you are comfortable with.
Yeah, probably a good analogy is, you talk about, when we talk about those companies that lifestyle and they kind of hit that, whatever that level is, that $2 million mark or whatever, and then they coast. Well, you don't coast forever, right? So you're gonna start slowing down. So you still have to give it a little bit of gas to just stay level, right? I mean,
right. It's like walking on an escalator, right? If you stop, you're going back.
And like throughout my career, when I've worked with, business owners that are looking to sell, when they do that for just even a 2-year period, 3-year period, something like that, they, their business really does it on the surface. It doesn't suffer, right? You went from 2 million to 1.8. Everybody still got paid. Everybody, it's fine. But then, you do that for 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden you look at the valuation of your company and you lost $500,000 in value of your company or something. Like it can become substantial if you don't have that culture of just always getting it, at least staying good, right? You don't even necessarily have to get better, but you got to stay good.
Yeah, for sure. I think I know actually, I could think of probably 4 or 5 shops off the top of my head that would like to sell their business. I was talking to a guy this week where he's like, I'm trying to get this guy to take it over. But man, there's a lot of guys just based on demographics that are getting to retirement age that want to get out of it, but it's not always an easy exit when you've built the business in a way that you are the product.
Yeah. Yep.
So well said.
I know it's like he's been listening to our shows or something. It's like he's cheating.
I've listened to some. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, how often does an outside service provider keep you up at night?
Yeah, every day. I mean, the team's looking for for updates on that. Every day we have a job that we need to know on.
How often is it heat treating?
I mean, large majority.
Imagine if you could go log into your supplier's website, visit a client portal, and see exactly the status of your job.
Well, that would be very helpful because, typically when we're looking, it's because our customer's looking. And I don't like having to say, we'll call you back. I like to be able to just look and tell them. And when it's not in my shop, I can't do that right now.
I think honesty and transparency is something that most manufacturing leaders want to deliver to their customers. But what I love about Phoenix Heat Treat is they literally created this client portal. It's the most transparent, the most honest you can be. It says exactly where the job is, and it makes it super easy for guys like you to tell their customers what to expect.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I wish all of our outside processors had that. Nick, how do we get a hold of them?
So you go to phoenix-heat-treating.com. That's phoenix-heat-treating.com. They're serving customers all over the country.
Well, I'd love to turn the attention to some of the newer shops, younger, APW with Matt. And I see this one on your channel, MW Machine, 25-year-old going for it.
Yeah.
And is it the Mennonite sisters, all fairly young?
Yeah.
So just talk about maybe some of the origins of some of these shops and their stories of how they started or how they got into their business.
Right.
Because those are always those personal aspects of it are always so fascinating.
Yeah, I like to focus on the kind of the human side of the business. So, I mean, like APW, MW Machine, there's another young guy, Motive Machine Works, David Smith. I would say like most of these people, just worked at other shops, worked for other people, and the common denominator was they wanted to be the master of their own destiny, right? They saw how much productivity they were adding to somebody else and thought I could do this for myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm working for somebody else, but I think that was the common denominator in these people starting is they're like, geez, I got a lot of skills. I think I could do this, and took the leap, and they go at various trajectories, right? Like Matt, I think he said he jumped off a cliff and tasked himself with building an airplane, is how he put it. And other people kind of sneak into it, right? They get a machine and they stuff it in their garage and try to build it up. The other guy did the same thing as Matt. He, quit his job and just said, I'm going to go find some customers. But yeah, I would say that's a common denominator is people just wanting to be the master of their own ship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any interesting insights or takeaways into like the way they funded their businesses or how they, found their first customers that might be interesting to the audience?
Well, like MW Machine, Walter, his name is. So he had access to, we'll just say, a distribution network. His father has a YouTube channel of like 1 million subscribers in the woodworking world. So he partnered with his father on making some high-end woodworking tools that he could sell to his subscriber base. So that's cool. I mean, that's a really cool one. And not that that's like the base of his business, but like he already had kind of a way to distribute his services in a sense, right? Built in with access to his dad's subscriber base. So, I mean, that's one, like if you can know that you have an audience somehow before you can take your jump, I mean, that's a huge deal. As far as like Matt and this other guy at Motive Machine Works, I don't know exactly how they went about like acquiring their customers and finding product market fit, they say, right? But they're aggressive guys. So, I guess David, Xometry, right? Like that's a huge one for people.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming some of these other guys use Xometry as well, but get certified from them and get some business that's going to pay for your machine payment. And then most people I talk to are at least looking to get out from under the the thumb of Xometry and find their own customer base, right? They want to control that instead of
that's
being
pretty
under
common.
Xometry, but that's a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good network to get started. I mean, we've used it. I mean, we haven't used it in probably 6 or 7 years, but we've even just used it when we've seen a gap. Next month, we have an open mill. We'd pick a job that we could run on it in 3 weeks just because we had open time.
Yeah.
Like I said, we probably haven't done it for 5 or 6 years, probably at least, but it's a good tool. It's a great tool to get started.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a huge resource. And I know some guys that use it just to like help them with quoting, right? They put in their part.
I think a lot of people probably do that.
Yeah. Put in their tolerances. I was talking to a guy yesterday who does that. So
I know some of my customers do that because they'll send it to us and they'll say, hey, here's our budget based on the fact that we put it in Xometry. So they, sometimes that works out in our favor and sometimes it doesn't.
Yep, for sure.
Maybe speak a little bit about what you've seen in terms of, I don't want to call it digital transformation, but just adoption of, more modern tools and maybe even machinery, right? Between some of the older established shops and some of these newer startups. Just how are they approaching that? I mean, obviously, Matt at EPW, right? They got ProShop before they even opened their doors, right? They knew they wanted like a backbone of a digital system, and I think he's using machine metrics as well. He has some machine monitoring, even when there's only 2 or 3 machines, just to kind of build that tech stack, which is easier at the beginning than it is later to try to shoehorn it in after the fact. So any other observations just about these newer shops, how they're thinking about technology?
I mean, certainly the younger people, right, are more apt to think about the newer technologies. I mean, like just something as simple as probing, certain shops like just take that on wholeheartely and save themselves, 10, 15 minutes of setup or something, just putting a probe in the spindle. So that's a big one. I can't speak extensively to that because I would say like Matt has, he's kind of the maximum that I've seen of implementation of like that shop management technology. But I mean, certainly another one that everybody's doing now is, are you programming it in a CAM software? Are you, still trying to program your lathe by hand or something? I've seen that stuff. So I mean, that's like a kind of a no-brainer, right? But there's guys that, don't want to learn, even though you could probably learn in a couple days enough to spit some programs out on YouTube. So what do you guys see? I mean, is there a lot of resistance to some of these tools that in your head are no-brainers?
Boy, so I'm a big believer in building out your tech stack and having really solid systems as tools to support your processes. So, but I can tell you, I mean, so I don't have resistance to them. But, as I've acquired multiple shops over the last several years and we've taken our proven systems and, tech stack and started layering on top of those, lots of different opinions coming from the floor. I mean, I had just completed a acquisition a few weeks ago and you talk about programming the lathe at the machine and they're doing that, right? And as you're talking with them and you're going, so does anybody have any like CAD CAM experience? And, I've played with it once or twice. So that's going to be something, it's going to be something that we have to transition. I mean, we can't expect it next week. But again, this was an older shop. It was the owner's retiring, type environment. I know when I travel around, I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, there's some that just probably, I maybe embrace too much, not too much, but I embrace quickly. A lot of those things, there's a lot of people kind of, they want to watch and see what happens for a few years type thing. And then there's some that just don't even talk to me, right? Like, I don't even want to talk about that. Well, I mean, Paul's in the space. Well, what do you see?
Yeah, I definitely see a change in who's leading and making decisions in the shop, right?
Yeah.
If it's a newer generation, maybe family business or even, an old fogey like Mike, but, but brought in some younger, fresh talent, into leadership and task them with, go find us the technology that's going to, really move the needle on the company. Right. And sometimes it's a bit of a process of that younger generation trying to convince the older generation, so again, there's different paths in which it happens. Sometimes someone like Mike has the wisdom to say, you guys go find it, or finds it himself and tasks the team to implement it. And other times it's the younger generation taking the impetus to say, hey, mom, dad, I think we really need to modernize what we're doing and, get some software like this. And sometimes it's opened or welcomed very openly. And other times they're like, nah, that's, we don't want to spend the money, or we don't need something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think again, there's probably a correlation. I'd love to see kind of the Venn diagram of humility and being willing to adapt and be open to technologies.
Yep.
And I think there's a strong correlation or causality there. So
yeah, this could make an amazing pivot table in Excel.
Right. No kidding.
Yeah. One of the videos I did, with 4Key Construction and Fab, it's called. They're a big Campro user. They have like 50 of our machines, but gentleman, he's about 70 years old, but you'll see it in the video a couple times where we run into, area foreman out on the floor, and he brings them over, and, you can just tell that he's like kind of a father figure to these guys, and just totally empowered the younger guys to take ownership of themselves and improve efficiency. And that's a guy who's just like, yeah, these younger guys have some good ideas too, so let them rip, Yeah. That's a cool one.
I love that. I mean, it's there's every shop out there is talking about not being able to find people, and young people don't have good work ethics. And I'm like, dude, like, that's just not true. And if you set up your company and your culture to empower people and really, provide them the resources and the autonomy to like really bring their best ideas and get out of their way, and there's just so much richness from doing it that way, right? And I'm sure there are some cautionary tales of some young person that tried something and it didn't work out, but the vast majority of the time, it really helps move the company forward. And so, if someone's listening out there, and I mean, maybe if they're listening to podcasts, they're already like-minded, like the folks we're talking about. The ones that are stuck in their ways are not the ones that are listening to podcasts right now.
Right, yeah.
But maybe forward this to someone that is kind of an old curmudgeon, and and
which, by the way, if someone forwards you this, they didn't call you an old curmudgeon.
They might have.
Paul did, but they didn't.
That's what I'm saying. I would encourage someone that's has reservations about it to really like dig deep and look into why they're not open to these kinds of things, right? Yeah. What kind of fear is it based around? Because they always say on the other side of fear is growth, right? And maybe this is getting a little more philosophical than it needs to be, but no, what? Yeah.
No, I was to say, I mean, I actually had kind of a nice real life example of what we're talking about happen this week. I was giving a shop tour this week, and somebody asked me, he's like, "Oh, what's that part over there? It looks kind of cool." And I kind of look over, and I'm like, "I'm not sure. Let's go look." And I don't recognize the part. I look at the work order. I don't recognize the customer. And I'm like, well, okay, this is great. Like, we have a job, and this job was done and ready to ship. It had been through multiple operations on the floor, was done and ready to ship, and I didn't even know it was a new customer, right? And so they're making things happen because you've empowered them, right? And that was a really good feeling this week. Usually, I mean, 2-3 years ago, I knew the due date of that part. Right. And, to fast forward now, I didn't even know we were running the job. It was a great feeling because it means things are working.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. One thing I will usually ask people about, or sometimes, is, tell me about like the fulfillment of your job. Do you find it fulfilling? And compare that to what you're doing now to maybe a previous job you had. And 9 times out of 10, people are like, there's fulfillment in making something and like holding a physical part in your hand and like doing something in the real physical space. And I think that the same thing applies to, do you have input and authority, right? Like, over your job, or are you just at the beck and call of somebody else? You can empower these guys out on the shop floor to have authority over something. It's a much more fulfilling experience. Not to mention, you're probably going to bring in some new ideas if you give somebody that authority to do something. Because that's another thing. Like, a lot of shops are, you hear them complaining that they can't keep talent. Well, one, it's like, how much are you paying them? Obviously, that's the bottom line. But the other is like, how much authority are you giving these guys? Because that's going to lead to a lot of fulfillment in their jobs if they have authority over something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. When people absolutely love what they do and love where they do it, pay does matter, but it's not the only thing that's keeping them there. You know, someone offers them $1 an hour more, they're not going to jump ship very likely if they just absolutely love the place and love what they're doing and feeling like they're a part of something and can really contribute and make a meaningful difference. That is such a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are the words I was looking for. Contribute, make a meaningful difference.
Yeah, not very many people certainly not people that rise to leadership want to show up every day and just fill out your to-do list, right? They just don't want to be directed like, okay, do these 12 things every day and you're good. I mean, that's a lot of these people we're talking about, they want to go make their own to-do list every day, right? They want to solve their own problems. They want to make things happen.
And even if people think that they would just rather go to work and push buttons and go home and just have a to-do list, I think they would find a more fulfilling job if they did what we were just talking about. But
sure,
it seems innate to like the human condition to want to build something,
Yeah, sure.
So Chad, you've now been in, you have 14 or 15 videos. I'm sure you've been in hundreds of shops total.
Yeah.
What are you seeing in the way of how a shop presents itself, how clean they keep their shop, how they lay out their equipment, 5S, things of that nature, and how that relates to how successful they appear to be?
Yeah. It's appear to be, right? Because they're not opening up their books for me, but I certainly can comment on that. Like I've seen the dirtiest, nastiest shops that you want to plug your nose when you walk in because their coolant has a pond in it, right, with frogs in it. And then I've seen shops that you could eat off the floor. I mean, the shops that are so clean, like it's just so much more of a positive environment. Like I would say, like lighting makes a huge difference. Like even if it's dirty, if you just put a lot of light in there, it just feels so much better. And the people in there seem to be having a better day, right? Something really simple, but I certainly notice it. And just the direction of the business often correlates with the cleanliness of the shop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge thing.
What do you see as far as, Paul had mentioned like equipment layout. I mean, do you see people, in my observations, people kind of tend to group their lathes and their mills, and we're going more hybrid now where we've got kind of complete cells where we can make a complete part. What are you seeing when you're touring these shops?
I think it depends on production level. There's shops that I was regularly in that, make hundreds of thousands of parts a year and they have their own product line, right? So they're going to set up their cells just to complete one part because one part runs here, right? So they got maybe they got a mill and a lathe and in a cell. But I mean, most of the job shops certainly would just organize it: mills over here, lathes over here, and they're not big enough shop floors that dragging apart 5 steps across to the mill is going to make a big difference. But I mean, that's very much determined by production level, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure, makes sense.
So as we look to wrap up here in a minute, maybe just share either, some of the most interesting things you've seen that you're like, wow, if every shop did this, everyone would be better off, or just like a really cool experience or story you had, just to kind of wrap us up here.
Yeah, I mean, something that seemed like everybody should be doing was using like 0-point workholding. In my conversations with Matt at APW, man, it just seems like absolute no-brainer. And I'm surprised how few people use that stuff that I see out there. So, I mean, that's one that just seems like a no-brainer home run for people to do, would be like those 0-point systems that Matt has. And then, I mean, as far as interesting stories, I mean, certainly the one that I posted most recently where this family just was kind of bored in COVID and was like, hey, let's take a shot at machining. And they got a job, and then they bought the machine and made it happen and turned it into a business. I mean,
that's wild.
I mean, that's a great story. So that was a fun one for sure.
Paul, I think you've had a few people on one or both of your podcasts, haven't you, that kind of got started during COVID that just...
Yep. Or around that time frame.
Yeah.
And, some of them had literally never stepped foot in a machine shop in their entire lives. Just saw people watching YouTube videos.
Was that did the OCD guys do that?
No, those guys came from the industry to some degree.
You had somebody recently.
Servin Solutions, two brothers up in
that's what I'm thinking
Pennsylvania. Massachusetts, I think. And they started that way. And then in Denver, the Priest brothers, Priest Machining and Assembly. Both cases, two brothers that just bought a machine, like literally put it in their mom and dad's garage, and then eventually moved out into their own facility. But
that's going to be an interesting look back on COVID. Like how many machine shops started with COVID?
A lot of new businesses did.
Right.
So.
Yeah. There's another guy I did a video with. There's a shop in his garage, and he works for like Citibank or something, or worked for them, and was like a banker, and somehow found it through YouTube, like for restoring old machines, and he started restoring these old machines, and then he started a shop. So it's crazy how people get started.
That is fascinating. It's super
cool.
Well, Chad, thank you for doing what you're doing and shining a light on these really cool essential businesses that help make everything in the world possible. And hopefully it's a good strategy that's actually working well for you as well. But sharing the stories, these, the human interest side of it is probably what's most interesting to most people.
Sure.
But even the technology side behind it is super fascinating to learn about as well.
Yeah, cool. Well, glad people are enjoying them, and appreciate you having me on. It's a great opportunity to be on here. So thanks a lot, guys.
Tell everybody how to find the videos, Chad.
Yeah, so you should just be able to search my name on YouTube, Chad Schmidt. If you type in Chad Schmidt Shop Tour on YouTube, I'm sure they'll come up. But it should be easy to find with my name.
Good.
Yep. And it did come up when I searched for it. But it's Chad Schmidt 570 is your actual
my handle
YouTube,
there. Yep.
Your handle. 3.54 thousand subscribers, 3,500 subscribers. We'll see how it balloons after this comes out. I'm sure it will grow a bit.
Well, thank you.
Hey, it's Paul from MakingChips. If you've been burned by recruiters who don't understand manufacturing, you are not alone. That's exactly why we created Hire MFG Leaders. We're not just recruiters, we're current and former shop owners, and we know what it takes to lead in this industry. Whether you're hiring your next operations leader, sales manager, or production supervisor, we'll help you find someone who actually fits. Learn more at makingchips.com/hire. So as we wrap up here, we gotta do the closeout like we always do, and I'm racking my brain trying to come up with a good one. But I think this is it. If, as we've learned from Chad, if you are not a humble leader, always learning, always open to trying new things and experimenting, then you're probably not making as many chips. And if you're not making chips,
you're not making money.
Bam.